In this video, I'm going to talk about the February NFT Reward Competition details while sharing my suggestions and thoughts about this competition. I'll also be showing a design showcase for a no NFT red steel build with no nuclear power and with full research buffs. And finally, I'll talk about the sponsored NFT giveaway for this video. Timestamps for each part will be in the description of the video. The next competition will be on February 21st, 2023, and the meta for points will be red steel, same as last competition. Red steel will sell for 270,950 in-game cash and 50,000 stars for each one. It requires 3 steel, 5 energy, and 14 strawberries in order to craft. Red steel will be created at the steel mill and stored in a warehouse. The reward structure for this competition is an NFT prize for the top 4,500 placements with a minimum of 50,000 points in order to be eligible for a prize, with better ranks receiving a higher rarity version of the NFT prize. And the NFT prize this time is the Feed Mill Ghost card, although that's not the official name. This ghost card will reduce the craft timer for the feed mill, which will allow players to make feed faster. The craft time reduction will work similar to how it works with lumber with the Guided Blades ghost card, with the common ghost card reducing it by 1 second, all the way to a 6-second reduction with the ancient ghost card. Unfortunately, this ghost card will be pretty useless for most people, as meadows are usually the better way to get feed without a wheat stand NFT. But for those of you who do own a wheat stand NFT, the feed mill ghost card will be amazing. With a legendary feed mill ghost card, you can essentially cut the craft time in half, and now one feed mill would craft as much feed as 2 feed mills would, saving you lots of space overall. The majority of this meta is the same as the last competition, but with some new changes. First, I'll explain the current meta changes that you may already be familiar with. The cash meta for this competition is eggs. Eggs will sell for 3,300 in-game cash for each, which is double their standard value. Windmills cost 2,500 to build, which is a reduced amount, and sheep pens cost 10,000 to build, which is a reduced amount. In general, I still recommend going for an egg rush at the start in order to quickly accumulate cash and then eventually jump to red steel production and start selling red steel for a large sum of cash and stars. Now I'll go over the new meta changes. Tractors and loggers now cost 1 million stars to build in addition to their original build costs. The research center costs 5 million stars to build in addition to its original build cost. And the nuclear power plant costs 10 million stars to build in addition to its original build cost. As for the research, the mine movement speed boost has been replaced with the water facility movement speed boost instead. The water facility movement speed boost costs 75 million cash and 100 water drums to craft. The logger movement speed boost costs 75 million cash, 50 oak wood, and 25 wooden boxes to craft. The steel mill speed boost costs 75 million cash and 50 iron to craft. And worst of all, the global movement speed boost now costs 220 million cash, 15 fancy cakes, and 10 jack-o'-lanterns in order to craft, which is as bad as it sounds in my opinion. If you think that sounds bad, you're not alone, as many people don't seem to like the way these new meta changes work. However, it is just the meta after all, and nobody is forcing you to do things this way. It's up to you to decide how much effort and how competitive you want to be. If you're up for the challenge, good, give it a try and have fun. If you think it's not worth the time, then don't play it or just don't try as hard. Personally, I see it as a challenge. I'm fine with it, and I'll find a way to figure it out. I am going to talk about my suggestions on whether or not it's worth building any nukes or any buildings that cost stars, or if doing any of the research is even worth it after I showcase the build I have right here. Now I'll talk about biomes. Like I said for the last red steel competition, I truly believe any biome is fine as long as you have one mountain edge. A desert does still have its advantages if you can utilize the oil seep correctly, and it can even let you get away with making a build where you have no nukes, but you still need to craft energy. But there are always ways to make a good build without an oil seep. Any biome will work for this competition, but I have my preference of using a desert. One mountain edge is good enough for most people, although there are some people who can utilize 2 mountain edges with the right design. Now, one river, one mountain across from each other would be the most ideal setup, but those spots are incredibly rare, so it's unlikely you will get one during the competition. And I still do not recommend an ocean, even if you plan on having some salt fields to make the 15 fancy cakes for the research. Don't go for an ocean. Sure, you can make it work, but I just don't think it's worth the trouble. This is my no NFT, no nukes red steel build. The biome is a north layout desert with a mountain on the east side. I showed this build on my last video and it was doing 39 red steel per hour without research, but now that I have all the research, it is doing 54 red steel per hour, which is amazing. This build has 18 loggers and 4 tractors, as well as 1 research center, so that's 27 million stars spent on buildings. It used to have 19 loggers, but I realized I needed to get rid of one of them to add another lumber mill right there after the research was done. I'm not going to talk too much more about the red steel portion of the build since I already talked about it in my previous red steel video, but I am going to talk about the research. The most powerful research is the global movement speed bonus. However, it costs 220 million cash, 15 fancy cakes, and 10 jack-o'-lanterns to make. And in my opinion, it's the fancy cakes that's the most painful. So first of all, I am going to show you some clips I recorded of the process I went through getting the materials needed for the research. I started with getting the 10 jack-o'-lantern, which was the easy part. That consisted of me needing to get 10 pumpkin, 20 wax, and 20 cotton yarn. Of those, the pumpkins was done first, and for that I simply needed to add another pond, and then I could add 2 pumpkin fields that had 10 passive water. Now the tractors would go pick up the pumpkins and just store them in the silo, and I would just make sure that I have 10 pumpkins stored in the silo. I also needed a pottery shop to craft ceramic bowls, which means I needed a clay field to collect the clay for the ceramic bowls. Those ceramic bowls would be used in the beehive in order to craft wax, so I did need a beehive. I also needed a wild clover in order for the bees to go and collect the bee nectar they needed. And I needed a beekeeper house because the beekeeper house brings the ceramic bowl and the lumber to the beehive, and it also collects the wax from the beehive. Now I also needed 1 fabric plant to craft cotton yarn with, and of course I needed 1 cotton field in order to collect the cotton that's needed for that. The process of getting the jack-o'-lanterns really didn't take up too much space and didn't take as long as the fancy cakes did. So really I saw no issue with doing this part. As soon as I knew that I had 10 pumpkins, I got rid of the pumpkin fields and the extra pond, and I just made sure that I had 10 pumpkins in the silo. Now I needed to get 15 fancy cakes, and I split that into 3 goals. The first goal was to get the 45 batter that I needed for the 15 cakes. And as you can see, I put down all those buildings, and I had a total of 3 storehouses to store all the materials that I needed. So I needed to make an ATV to pick up the eggs from the chicken coops and the milk from the milk barn. I had 1 chicken coop for all my eggs and 2 milk barns for the milk. I had plenty of meadows so they could feed from. I had 4 windmills. They were all green timer, 2 of which were making salt, one was making flour, and one was making sugar. I had 8 salt fields, and they are all red timer, and they all have the water that they need. I of course had some sugarcane fields and wheat fields to get the sugarcane and wheat that I needed for the sugar and the flour. The 3 storehouses to store all my items in. I had the bakery making butter and the cakery making fat. Now this process took a long time, and I did alternate the cakery from crafting batter to cakes. Sometimes I wanted to make a few cakes just so I could save some storage space. But for the most part, I needed to make sure that I have enough batter to make all the 15 cakes that I will need. Now the second goal was to actually finish making all 15 cakes. So in this clip right here, I have 13 cakes. I just need to make 2 more, and I have the cakery just working on those last 2 cakes. Since I don't need anything else, like I didn't need no more butter, no more eggs, no more flour, I got rid of all those things. And now I have just 2 windmills focusing on crafting sugar, because I will still need sugar for cakes and for chocolate bars. So now I have 2 chocolate shops, both of which are working on crafting chocolate bars, which requires cocoa, sugar, and milk. So I still have the milk bars for the milk. And now I also planted some cocoa trees so I could get cocoa. The tractors would collect that, and then the chocolate shops would pick it up. And the third goal is to turn the 15 cakes into fancy cakes. So right here, I was already just starting the process of making the fancy cakes. So I replaced the cakery with another chocolate shop, and that chocolate shop will actually make the fancy cakes. Of course, I've been already crafting some chocolates, and I will continue to craft chocolates in this clip. The strawberries are no issue because I'm still making red steel while doing all this, and it'll just grab some excess strawberries and just put them into the fancy cake. But as soon as I know that I'm already going to craft fancy cake, is ideally you would already have enough money, but this is when you would want to start the research for the global speed bonus. So I go into the research center and start it right there. It's going to start off by picking up the 10 jack-o'-lanterns from the warehouses, and as soon as it does that, it's just going to start picking up the fancy cakes as they get crafted, just one at a time. Also, I do believe it was a good idea to have strawberries, cocoa, and sugarcane on autosell for this part, because I didn't want my silos to jam, and I was just planning on leaving it on here until the research actually finished, which it did. It ended up working out. But yeah, by the time I was in this part, all the cakes were getting turned into fancy cakes, and as soon as the research center had all the fancy cakes it needed and the jack-o'-lanterns, then it would immediately start crafting the buff, and it would just take 30 minutes to complete. After the global speed boost was done, I started working on the logger speed boost. I needed to collect 50 oak wood and 25 boxes, so I had some lumber mills crafting wooden boxes, and I had a couple of oak trees. In the meantime, I also rebuilt all the water facilities that I had removed earlier, although I do have some of them turned off. That way the lumber mills crafting wooden boxes actually have some spare lumber to pick up, and the mines aren't constantly making iron. This does affect the rate, but this made the process of getting the wooden boxes I needed quicker. As soon as I crafted the last wooden box that I would need for the logger speed boost, then I made sure that all my lumber mills were crafting lumber again, and I went ahead and turned on all my water facilities and replaced all my oak trees with regular trees as soon as I didn't need any more oak wood. That way I could bring back my red steel rate to where it's supposed to be. Once the logger speed bonus was done, I started working on the water facility speed bonus, which requires 100 water drums. And then I did the steel mill speed bonus, which requires 50 iron, both of which were no problem at all. After showing you the whole process I went through, here's what I have to say. If you are planning to do research, do not wait until you finish the red steel build before starting the fancy cakes. You should immediately start working on getting everything you need to start working on the 15 cakes at the very least. Then you can work on turning them into the 15 fancy cakes. I also recommend you work on getting the 10 jack-o'-lanterns before you finish your red steel build, but definitely focus on the 15 fancy cakes first. If you try doing this after you've finished your red steel build, you're just going to ruin your red steel rate and it's probably not going to be worth it in the end. So if you are planning to go for the research, start working on the fancy cakes and jack-o'-lanterns as soon as possible and just set them aside in a storage. If you do it quickly and efficiently enough, then the research will pay off overall. It does add a lot more gameplay time. If you don't want to deal with the research and don't want to play that much, then don't worry about the research. Only put in as much effort as you want to. I believe those who put in the most effort deserve a shot at better rewards. It's only fair after all. As for whether or not you should upgrade your lumberjacks and farmers to loggers and tractors, it's up to you, of course, but I did the math for this build, and if you finish the builds and the upgrades to the loggers and tractors as soon as possible, hopefully getting it done within the first 24 to 36 hours of the competition, then the increased rates will pay off in the end. Of course, that assumes that your game won't crash during the remainder of the competition. Hopefully, what I told you lets you make an informed decision of what you plan to do. Personally, I plan to do the research and have loggers and tractors in my own build, but I won't be building any nukes. There will be another giveaway running on my Dubs community Discord server. This giveaway is sponsored by a Townstar community member, Boney Chill. He has handed me a nuclear power skin to give away to the community, so thank you very much, Boney Chill. This Miranda's skin NFT is from the Miranda's Pack 7, and it will change the appearance of the nuclear power and the worker as well. If you don't own a Miranda's skin from Pack 7 already, well then this skin will also provide the Pack 7 bonus, which is a 2.5% movement speed bonus to everything and a 1% craft time reduction bonus to everything. It may not be noticeable by itself, but it can very well add up if you decide to get one card from each of the 10 packs so that you can get the bonus from each pack. You can never go wrong with the Miranda skins. They're always going to be helpful. There will only be one winner to receive this NFT. To participate, simply join my Discord server if you haven't already. Check the giveaway channel and click the button below the giveaway message to enter. The winner will be announced shortly after the competition ends. You can find a link to my Dubs community Discord server in the description of the video. There's also going to be a flash giveaway sometime this week. That one will only run for 24 hours, so don't miss out. That's your only heads up. That's all for the giveaway details. Good luck, and once again, thank you Bonicho for sponsoring this giveaway. That's everything for this video. I hope this information is able to help you succeed in the next competition. I do not have a build process explanation for this video, unfortunately. If you do want another idea on how to make a red steel build, check out my February Gala Reward Competition video. I also plan on releasing another video with another red steel build I'm going to call the lazy red steel build because it's a low effort build with no nukes, no tractors, no loggers, no research. It should be pretty easy to build and give you a decent rate to help you win at least top 1200 in the competition. I also plan to live stream the competition, so if you want to watch along, feel free to hang out. Please consider liking this video if you haven't already and leaving a comment with any questions or feedback that you may have. Subscribe so you don't miss out on lots of helpful Townstar content, updates, advice, and guides. Thank you so much for your support and thank you for watching.